Welcome to the Positive Pants Podcast. Mindset, motivation and inspiration to help you find your positive pants. Let go of negative thinking and stop living for the weekend. With your host, Fran Excel.
Welcome to the show. Fran Excel, mindset and personal development coach, helping you find your very own pair of positive pants, get you out of your own way so you can live that life that you really, really love. As always, going to be really, really practical, actionable tips that you can start implementing straight away. And today I'm excited because we're going to be talking about something that is very important. And I see so many people who are trying to start businesses or mums or whoever it may be, always saying, I don't have time. So today I'm going to be talking about practical and actionable ways that you can actually find more time in your day. So if you're always saying, I don't have enough time and wish that you had an extra couple of hours in the day, it's time to get really, really honest about how you're spending it. What or who is a sneaky little time suck for you? We're going to work that out. How long do you spend surfing the internet, perusing social media? I won't complain because obviously you find me these ways. Are you watching too much Netflix? Have 1,000 emails to get through? And what it does is it actually ends up with you just feeling really overwhelmed, like you've got way too much on, like you genuinely don't have enough time because there's so much on your plate. I'm going to give you a couple of tips that are going to really, really, really help that. Now, if you've been with me a while, you know that scheduling is my very best friend in the world. When I say schedule, I mean schedule everything down to scheduling time that you're having you time. You know, we often wait until we have time to say, oh, I've got a spare hour, I might have a bubble bath. But actually, it doesn't have to be that way. If you schedule it in, if you know that you're feeling a little bit drained, or you know that you're just not feeling great and you need to look after yourself a little bit more, if you schedule this in, it will happen. It's honestly amazing because people used to say this to me for years. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it's really true. So even with everything that I have going on, a 4-hour daily commute, you know, having a full-time job and a full-time practice and all these different things, I find time to have a bubble bath. I just do. I love it. But the bonus is you're going to enjoy it more because you're not going to feel guilty about taking it because you've worked your life around it. And it's so important. I talk about self-care a lot. It's really important to take that time for yourself. So give it a go. And if you've got an online calendar or anything along those lines, just start trying to schedule things that you really want to do in and that you know you need to do. And genuinely, it will amaze you how much time you find. It's bloody brilliant. Next thing is list all the things that you do in your day across the week and get really, really, really honest and cross off anything that is actually unnecessary and don't do it. So start doing this. Keep a diary for a week and see all the little things. Like, for example, if you spend an hour surfing the internet with no purpose, just be honest about it. It's fine because it's really easy to do. It's one of those ways that we procrastinate, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed. We stop ourselves from doing the things that we need to do by distracting ourselves with other things that we tell ourselves, obviously, we need to do. But actually, it doesn't have to be that way. Just make a list of all these things that you do, cross off anything unnecessary, and be honest with yourself. Don't do it. Just don't do it. The next one is learn to say no. Now, this is one that I know there's quite a few people that struggle with in my community. So how much of your time is spent doing things or seeing people that you don't really want to? The more you say no, the easier and more natural it actually becomes. It's really difficult at first. It's similar to when I'm talking about positivity versus negativity and talking about neuroplasticity a lot. You've trained yourself to be a people pleaser. You've trained yourself to not say no, but we can flip that around and go the other way. So you may at first need to enlist a little bit of support to get you through the niggly self-talk. So come into the group and say, oh my goodness, I need to say no to this. And I can give you actionable ways how. And I can support you myself. You know, it's one of those things. We spend so much time doing things that actually we don't want to or need to. So having that support there can actually really help you. And the amount of time that then opens up for you is insane. So that's a really, really good one. So the next thing I want you to think about is, what do you assume is a waste of your time that you could potentially use more productively? So what I mean by this is, do you have a commute? Do you have a lunch break? Do you prepare for those times when you're sort of waiting around for things, like at the doctor's? I'm a huge fan of Audible and audiobooks, and I save articles on my phone exactly for times like that. So I read 100 books last year just by doing this. I created what I call my learning zone. There's also an amazing app called Udemy. So if there's these things that you really, really want to learn and you've told yourself that you don't have time, this is a great way to do it. So using Audible to consume books, you do have to train yourself to listen to audiobooks. So don't beat yourself up in the beginning if it feels a little difficult, because you do train yourself into it. And now I listen to audiobooks on 1.5 times. So to begin with, people sounded like they were speaking really, really fast, but my brain's got used to listening in that way. So it just sounds totally normal. So that's another little tip. Think about all those times where you feel like you're wasting time. If you've got a phone, you can use it more productively. There's so many different things that you can do. So have a think of the things that you're like, oh, if I had more time and I wish I had time for, all of those little moments. And then really, really think about your days, in the car, all these different things. Like, when could you use these times more productively? The next one is a little technique by Brian Tracy. So it's called Eat That Frog. Okay, so what he teaches is that by tackling the biggest, ugliest, most difficult task on your list first, makes everything else easier and quicker. Plus, you'll save so much more time not procrastinating on the big stuff, because you'll just force yourself to do it. And the sense of achievement that you get once you've done that big task, even if you get, say you've got 10 little tasks and one big one, those 10 little tasks, you could get all of those done. But looming in the back of your head is always going to be, oh, I've got this to do, I've got this to do, I've got this to do. And it causes you to procrastinate. So what you've got to do is just tackle that one first, and then all the other 10 little ones falls into place that much easier, because you've done this big thing and you're not using that brain space telling you, oh, you've still got this to do, So it's absolutely brilliant way of doing things. The next tip is batching. So if you've got a full-time job and you're trying to start a business, batching is your best friend along with scheduling. It really, really is. So what could you batch in one go, rather than spreading it across the week? So it's not just applicable to people starting businesses. What errands do you run? Instead of popping out on Monday and Wednesday and Friday, could you do it all in one day? Just have a think and really, really analyze what you do with your days. Could you batch text messages to friends? Do you know you need to go back to someone? Can you give yourself time in the morning or the evening, and the evening, either way? But instead of taking the time to respond to every single notification you get or every single message you get then and there, could you batch them? And then that means that you have a particular time in the day that you're just going through it all. Emails, same thing. Can you do it with emails? If you find that you are doing stuff all throughout your day and a little pingy email comes up and that distracts you from what you're doing, what you're actually doing is you're making it a million times harder for yourself to actually get stuff done, because your brain is focusing on something and then you get the ping of an email and then it has to focus on something else, and then it takes a little while to get you back into the game of doing this other thing. So if you give yourself time slots throughout the day, so this is a nice little batching and scheduling at the same time, that will help you. And if you're worried about anything, can you set up an autoresponder email that says you're in meetings, or there could be a delay in your response, and buy yourself a little bit more time to finish what you're doing first without worrying about anything sort of urgent coming into your inbox, because nobody likes waiting. But if they've been told that they may have a little bit of a wait, it's like a nice surprise if you get back to them even sooner. So have a think about that. Next one. Now, this is a technique that I started using, and I call it a brain dump to-do list. So you still have exactly the same amount to do, But the headspace you clear by doing this technique and the time that you save from not worrying or procrastinating over all the little things that you need to do is absolutely invaluable. So, pens and paper at the ready. Split a page of A4 into 3 on landscape. On the left column, write down everything that you can think of that you need to do. Everything you can think of. In the middle column, get really, really honest and pick everything that absolutely has to be done this week. Okay? Be really honest with yourself. Everything that has to be done this week. Anything with a deadline, a time slot, anything like that. Then in the right, split that into 7. And every single day, take 3 things from the middle list, the things that have to be done this week, and just do those. So if you get through them super quick, then great. Feel free to add another one from the middle column. But the sense of achievement that you'll feel will be so much better than the usual overwhelm. And this is kind of a little bit of a reframing technique that really helps with overwhelm. So nothing has actually changed in your situation. You still have the same amount of things to do, and there'll still be things adding to the first brain dump. But that's okay, because you're being really honest with yourself. And instead of getting overwhelmed at how much you need to do, you're doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done. So you also get that sense of achievement, because you could tick 3 things off of your massive brain dump to-do list, and you're not going to feel the same sense of achievement. You're going to be like, oh my goodness, what an unproductive day I've had. Whereas to do it this way, you finish your 3 and you feel really, really good. So that's awesome. The next one is, okay, what takes time that you could potentially delegate? Yeah. So what price would you put on your time? This is something I learned from Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap, which is a favorite of mine. And it talks about your zone of genius, your zone of competence, and your zone of incompetence. But he talks very much about an analogy about a top-notch lawyer. This lawyer spending, you would spend hundreds of dollars on his time, and he was spending ages trying to set up this printer, and he just couldn't do it. He was getting frustrated. He was banging his head against a brick wall. And Gay Hendricks essentially said to him, what's the value of your time? And he's like, okay, this. He's like, okay, well, what could you pay someone to do that? And he's like, oh. And he basically went and got a kid from next door, and he set it up within minutes. And it's be honest with yourself. You don't have to do all the things. You just don't. So start being honest with yourself about what you could potentially outsource, that actually by giving you that extra time, it's worth more to you. So have a think. There's things like, could you, like a cleaner, for example. So many people are like, oh God, I've got to clean. Is there a way that having a cleaner would actually free up more time for you that would be more valuable? Can you order your supermarket shopping instead of, could you order it online instead of actually going to the supermarket? Think of all these different things that you could delegate. There's virtual assistants. I have a lovely VA, and she's an absolute lifesaver for me. So think about the things that you could potentially outsource that doesn't require you to definitely have to do it. If someone else can do it just as well as you, outsource it if you can. Next one, what distracts you? Okay, now it's time to be honest. How can you make sure it doesn't distract you when you're trying to focus on something else? Go through your push notifications on your phone. Yeah, delete those suckers. Delete them. They are honestly a hindrance. Since changing, I was talking to Gwen in the group the other day, saying changing my notifications and having do not disturb on my phone has been a lifesaver. When you're juggling a lot of plates, it's really, really tough. When you're constantly bombarded with ping, 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 even if it's silent, you can see it coming up on your phone. So for example, Instagram, I've got nearly 2,500 followers. So every time I post something, there's all these notifications that are coming up. And if I had to deal with every single one of those individually, I would go insane. And I did used to do it. It's actually only been recently that I sort of had a word with myself and practiced what I've preached. So the next one is decluttering. So I know this sounds counterintuitive because it takes time, but when you declutter, think of anything that you can declutter: rooms, drawers, emails, Google Drives, push notifications, phone apps, anything that stresses you out, just to look at it. Because what it does is by decluttering that, And taking the time to do that, it frees up headspace. And that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of I've not got any time, that sort of dissipates because you feel so much calmer because you're more in control of your situation and your surroundings. So if you schedule the time in for this well in advance, take a weekend, take a few hours at the weekend, pick some things in advance that you're going to declutter so it doesn't overwhelm you. But the headspace, it will clear. It's so worth it. I declutter all the time. I declutter every single thing that I can think of. I do digital declutters. There was a recent blog post that I did on that will be really, really helpful. Give you some ideas on how you can do it and where you can do it. But do it. Honestly, it clears so much headspace. It's so worth it. Next one is prioritizing. Some people really, really struggle with this. When you want to achieve big things, it's time to get really honest with yourself. What truly is the priority for you? What do you want the free time for? You know, you can create time in your day. What's it for? You're not going to get it if it isn't for anything. So for example, like with my bubble baths, I want time to have a bubble bath and look after myself. Do you want time to go have a massage? Do you want time to go for a walk with the kids? Whatever it is, if you have an attachment to why you want that free time, it really helps you find it. It gives you the motivation to find it as well. If you can attach yourself why you really, really want something, that's going to help. The next one is, are you an early bird or a night owl? So work out when you're most productive. Are you more productive in the morning or the evening? And what you need to do is schedule all the important stuff at those times. That way you'll get way more done. So if you know you're an early bird and you're scheduling in all the proper big to-do stuff in the evening, you're going to get in a pickle because it's harder. It's when your brain is most active, when your brain works the best. That's when you need to be making sure that you're doing the important stuff. So I hope that makes sense. And then the next one is preparation. What can you prepare that makes it easier for you? So for example, if you've got a big commute and you're super busy, can you take 2 minutes to put your clothes out the night before or pack your bag for the next day? That way, your brain space, you don't need it the next day. You literally pick up your bag and you're good to go. So preparation. Same thing with food throughout the week. Do you need to think every single day, right? What would I like to eat? Right, I'm going to eat these. If you can take the time to prepare what you're going to have, how you're going to have it, you will find yourself having so much more time on your hands. It's bonkers how easy some of these things are, but it's very easy to say that when you haven't sort of been taught them, or, you know, it's very easy to get stuck in that rut of doing things a certain way. So not all of these are going to work for everybody, but I hope there's a few ideas in there that you can sort of implement straight away. And I will see you next week. Bye.